Hi everyone, this is Joe Guzzo in Folk Project Television. I have a really wonderful show for you today. I had the pleasure of a long conversation with Tracy Grammer, and I'll be bringing that conversation to you in just a little while. We'll also be hearing two of her performances which she was kind enough to provide for us. So stick around, and I know you'll find her as interesting as I do. And with the lockdown that we have right now, we're forced to live in close proximity with our partner, whether it be wife, husband, whoever. And if you expect your partner to be an angel in your life, you must first create heaven at home. After all, angels don't live in hell. Speaking of hell, summer days are no fun for anyone who has worked outside near people. Wearing a face covering is simply not fun when it's so hot and humid, and I suppose it is better than the alternative, however, so make sure you do if you go out. Due to the quarantine, I'll only be telling inside jokes. There's so many new coronavirus jokes out there. It's also a pandemic. And now's not the right time to surround yourself with positive people. Not. And there's going to be probably a minor baby boom in about 9 months or so. And then one day in, say, 2033, we'll be surrounded by quarantines. For those of you who need the visual help. So much for that joke. The World Health Organization recently announced that dogs cannot contract COVID-19. And those dogs that have been held in quarantine until now can be released. So tell everyone, this is so bad it's good. Who let the dogs out? And if you run out of toilet paper, of course, you can start using old newspapers. Just remember that times are rough. I'll tell you a coronavirus joke now, but you'd have to wait 2 weeks to see if you got it. I'm going to go down to talk about Tracy now and talk about performers in general. And with the pandemic shutting down venues and festivals for so many of our performing artists, the Folk Project has been seeking ways to help them earn a living. So during the show, you're going to see a banner with ways you can donate to Tracy. Please do so if you're able. And that's more than enough of my musings, so let's get on to our friend Tracy Grammer. She was born in Florida and raised in California and now lives in Western Massachusetts. I've been fortunate to have seen Tracy perform at house gatherings and small venues, and I've spoken to her a number of times before the shows or during breaks and things of that nature. And when I wrote to her asking for this interview, she remembered me and my wife actually and readily agreed. So why don't we listen to that interview now? Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today on the show. I would like to tell you that we miss seeing you live, and hopefully we can get back to some kind of normal stuff soon. Now, last August, you injured yourself pretty severely. You broke your tibia and damaged your ACL, as I recall.
Mm-hmm.
How's the healing going right now?
Well, the healing, the ACL, when you tear your ACL, it doesn't repair itself. The tibia actually does. The little fracture that I got has repaired itself, but I'm going in for surgery on the 23rd of July to reconstruct the ACL. So, yeah, I did all the PT. I'm doing what they call prehab right now, which is, exercises in advance of the surgery so that I'll be stronger on the other side of it. Doing that pretty faithfully and trying to get just, as stable as I can, in preparation for being weak for a while. But
we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I actually tore the other ACL 10 years ago, and the healing then, the protocol then was a lot more challenging than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got these beautiful like coolers that drip ice cold water into a brace that fits around your leg and kills all the swelling and the pain. So like, it's gonna suck, but but it'll be less sucky than last time when I got really sick on the pain meds. So
Um, Everyone who's a fan of yours knows that you worked, of course, with Dave Carter for quite a while. Can you tell us a little bit about the man behind the music? We know about his music, which was great, and the two of you were, just did such a terrific job of giving us some joy. But could you tell us a little bit about Dave?
Dave, you know, I have been thinking about Dave so much this year. Now that we had this pandemic, I'm deep into work on my memoir, which is I think about kind of about the Dave and Tracy years, and then what happens after. And so I've been going through my journals and reading a lot of about our little experiences and our little adventures. And he was a character, like a real character, one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, full of impersonations and that you might not expect, and just playful, really giddy, like uh, in some ways a very silly person, despite it, kind of in balance, I think, to all the very serious music that he wrote. you
Right.
know there are a few silly songs,
Hmm.
there's a few like pretty silly pretty silly pieces. But so one thing that's standing out for me as I go through these is just the humor, and just what a funny person he was, and so good with the voices. Like he could just impersonate. Well, he had a lot of characters. Let's just put it that way. Um, in addition to that, he was. I've spoken at length several times about the way he got his songs. He basically mined the dream world for his songs, and so there was always an element of Dave that wasn't there, and that was the part that he sort of, the slice of brain that he sort of saved, set aside to always be, available to the muses, as it were.
Hmm.
Um, and so there was also that, he was there, but in my journal, I often said, I don't feel like he hears me. I don't think he's all here. And so I think that one foot in the dream world and one foot in the waking world, it was, that was a fact. That wasn't just true. It was a fact that he was always working on songs. And for the most part, the songs came quickly. He was a runner. Um, he liked to ride his bike around Portland, and running and biking are two exercises that he used to do to kind of work out song lyrics. So that was actually
Okay.
part of his writing process. But he had a lot of physical activity. He was also a Tai Chi master, and was, I
Really?
think, one of the first, Caucasian people asked to come to China to teach Tai Chi. So I remember him telling me about that. And then I found a magazine, or he showed me a magazine at some point, where there he is, he's striking a pose. But he would do Tai Chi in the hotel rooms and on the tours and stuff. And it was just such a beautiful and powerful thing to watch. Really, just the grace of a dancer, but such strength too.
Hmm.
Uh, it was just really stunning. And then some really kooky stuff like Drunken Monkey, which was one of my favorite little, I don't know what you call it, Tai Chi moves, I guess. Um, so a Tai Chi master, a biker, a runner, a funny guy, vegetarian, Buddhist, most Buddhist all the time, but on any given day he might have been a fan of Judaism or Mormonism or
Hmm.
Catholicism. What he would pick, he would just say, those Mormons, they really got it on, got it going on. And then other times he'd say, those Jews, they really, I like that about the Jewish people. And so I think he was sort of like a spiritual, like buffet guy, like he just kind of picked and chose what he liked out of each religion. And
Would that everybody do that? The same thing. It would be wonderful, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
he just kind of folded it into his personal paradigm, his personal spiritual paradigm. And, at the end of the day, he was just a kind person. Everybody who met him would say that, how they felt seen and they felt heard and they felt
Mhm.
that there was a connection.
Sounds
So,
like he was there when people spoke to him, for the most.
yeah, well, especially at the shows, when people are coming up and they're talking about the songs, and he was just really interested in people, like I
Mhm.
think when a stranger came up to him, he wasn't really interested in the compliments so much, but who is this person? Who is this person that was drawn to my music, and what is it about this person, that made this resonate? He was curious about the backstory, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in addition to Dave, you worked with some other pretty fantastic musicians, or at least were opening act or worked with them at some point in your career. People like Judy Collins and Paula Cole, among others.
Hmm.
Um, any particular thing you could tell us about working with them? How was it the first time you got a chance to work with one of these
Oh
really
gosh.
big names?
Yeah, so what, Joan Baez and Judy Collins and Paula Cole and a lot, and Mary Chapin Carpenter, and
Hmm.
my heroes. I got to meet a lot of my heroes, and what I Judy Collins, it was so funny. People had told me that she could be somewhat mercurial, so they said, you're going to open for her, but be prepared to have that your set length might vary. Like it might be 20 minutes, but she might decide at the last minute you're only playing 10. And so I was like, okay. I showed up at the gig ready for anything. Judy could not have been nicer. And this has been my experience actually with all like super famous people, is that they're so nice. Um, and so Judy was just a sweetheart. I played the set that I was planned to play, and then she decided at the end that we should get up and sing Amazing Grace together. This was on Cape Cod. And I had to admit, I'm such a bad folk singer. I said, I don't really know all the words to Amazing Grace if we're going to do, a big version of it. And she said, don't worry, I'm one step ahead of you. I have the lyrics right here. She waves a piece of paper. So when it's time for the encore, I come out with a piece of paper and we hold hands and we're standing on stage and, she's holding her microphone with her other hand and we're singing and we're looking at the paper, but we start giggling. And then we just start messing up the song. And we have the words in front of us, but we we just lose it. And the crowd is singing and we're just like dissolving into laughter. And it was just one of the funniest, silliest moments. And then what was even more funny is that as we were walking off, she like leans in and she's like, "We sound really good together. We should do this again." And I'm like, "When did we actually sing?" We did sing a little, but so that was fun. And Mary Chapin Carpenter is really she's one of the people that I've just listened to, and I think I've gone to more concerts by myself just to see her, for years and years since college. And so meeting her, which was in 2003, right after Dave had died, was backstage of the Kate Wolf Memorial Festival in Laytonville, California.
Hmm.
And she showed up and she said that she wanted us to play Gentle Soldier of My Soul together. And I was so honored. And so we go to this little kind of green area backstage, and we both have our guitars, and we're going to practice, because we're doing this during her main stage set. And and she starts to play it. She starts to play it, and she starts to sing it. And I go, no, I'm singing it. And she's like, oh, well, I thought, and I'm like, no, I sing this one. And I'm just like, I don't know what came over me to tell Mary Chapin Carpenter what's going to happen in her set, but that's what I did. I said, I'm going to sing this one. And eventually she just said, okay. And she sang harmony. Of course, she'll be the first to admit she loves to sing harmony. That's her favorite thing. So it wasn't all bad. But standing in the wings, watching us while we sang, was my other hero at the time and still, Sean Colvin. And so it was just this like vortex, of stars. And I was just so happy to meet them both. They couldn't have been more gracious. And like I said, that's been my experience with every monumentally famous person that I've met is they just couldn't be nicer and more willing to help, you know. So I've had good experiences.
And who were you most excited to meet if you had to pick one person?
Most excited. Well, you know, it was all different. It depended on the time. You know, when I was with Dave, of course, we were stoked to be meeting Joan Baez. That was just like, what? You know, for all sorts of reasons. But there was a time in 1999. I was at the Folk Alliance conference in I think it was Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was in a showcase room doing some setup for a showcase that we were giving later that night. And someone ran up to me and said, Tracy, Frank Tedesco's here. And not a lot of people know who Frank Tedesco is, but Frank Tedesco is this master poet and songwriter out of Chicago and New York City. And Dave and I had been obsessing over his one and only record called Songs from Einstein's Violin, listening to it over and over and over because we just loved it. And finding out that Frank Tedesco was in the house. That is the only time I ever got speechless in front of someone. Just like, I remember running to the door where Frank Tedesco was standing, and I just stood there and I was like, ah! You know, I had no words. And then I ran and got Dave and said, Frank Tedesco's here. Frank Tedesco's here. He probably has no idea that we thought that, you know, we felt that way about him, but we really did. I didn't get tongue tied around Joan Baez or Mary Chapin or Sean or Paula Cole or any of those people. It was Frank Tedesco. Man, I just couldn't handle it.
I'd like to talk about your last album. When you came up with Low Tide, that album is, first of all, I don't think there's a bad song. For me, there's not a bad song on it.
Oh, thanks.
So, you know, you're very welcome. And the song you wrote to your dad particularly stands out, and just a wonderful song. Now, when you were working on it, did you have any feeling about how it would actually end up, how well it would show? Because I thought it was received so well, and what did it hit, 9 on the chart, on the playlist?
Yeah, the album was the 9th most played album for folk radio that year. It was 2018. So no, you never know. You never know if anyone's going to listen to it. You hope they do, you know. A lot of us will enlist help. We'll pay a professional to make sure that all the DJs get a copy, you know, and to kind of track who's playing it and see if there's anything we can do to get them to play it more often. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, or see if we can visit them or whatever. But I had no idea how well it would do. That album was really a watershed moment for me because it was, you know, as you know, my first album of original songs, my first time stepping away from the Dave Carter material to do something on my own,
Right.
in my own voice, with my own attitude, you know, with my own story. It's been really easy for me to be a mouthpiece and a cheerleader for someone else's thing all these years. But it was a real a threshold moment for me to make that everything about it, from launching the Kickstarter to recording the tracks, to mixing the tracks, to getting the artwork together. Everything about it was painful.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it just burned me to my core. I think because I knew I was stepping through a really important door, and it just hurt. It hurt. It squeezed me. Like, I remember just making the Kickstarter video, that little 3-minute plea,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it took me 3 days. I was 3 days in front of my iPhone filming it over and over. I lost like 3 pounds in the process because I didn't get up to eat. I just kept trying to figure out, what is it I have to say? Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I asking? What do I need? How do I say it? You know? And so just everything about the album was kind of like that, you know? And, you know, Jim Henry will tell you too, because he recorded all my vocals. He was just like, oh my God.
Well,
I would be singing.
if you consider that you felt you were burning up while you were doing that, you rose from the ashes like a phoenix.
Well, we won't know that until I release my next album, I guess. But you know, but yeah, it didn't kill me. So apparently, hopefully, I'm stronger now. I still have quite the perfectionist streak, but no other project is going to be like that, right? So
Right.
this
First one's always a tough one.
whew, yeah, and it took me by surprise. I was not expecting all of that, to hurt so bad, but it just really hurt so bad. I think I was working through the pain of, well, there's Dave, but then also there was a recent breakup of an engagement. And then there's just the idea that what if my identity is not to tell that old story anymore? Just shedding that thing that I've been wearing for, 16 years at that point. It was big. It was big and it was vulnerable. And, I'm glad people listen to it. I just got an email from someone who just heard Hole for the first time and said he can't stop playing. And he's like, "You're in my brain now." And I said, "Good." And I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that people got something from it and from Good Life, which is, as you mentioned, for my dad. So
What was the most well-received song on that album? Do you know?
well, I think it's between Whole and Good Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Both great songs, so yeah.
oh, thanks.
In March of 2000, Dave Carter and Tracy released an album called Tanglewood Tree, a really good album, incidentally. And on that album is the song you're about to hear. I hope you enjoy it. It's called The Mountain.
Walk on the paths of glory, one foot
Are you writing songs now during this lockdown?
I'm writing tidbits like I always do, but I am not sitting down with my guitar to write. Um, I'm working on the memoir, so that's pretty much where all my word juice is going, you know? And I'm finding bits of songs in the journals and stuff that I'm pulling out, and it's very interesting to see them. Um, because the tidbits, even the little artistic tidbits that don't seem to be much, 3 or 4 lines, there's a world in there when you look back at it. So some of those I'm setting aside. I'm like, I wonder if I'll work with this. But no, I haven't been writing songs. I'll diddle a little on the guitar and, like I
Hmm.
said, take some notes. But I haven't written anything, and I feel like, some people are really called. They really feel, they need to write a song for the moment. And I think when I feel that call, it'll just blow right out of me. But I haven't felt it yet. That string in me hasn't been plucked. So we'll see.
Well, with all the venues that are shuttered and all the concerts, the summer concerts that were canceled, the festivals, how are you getting by on the on your end over there, thanks to this
Yeah.
little pandemic?
Yeah, well, part of the reason for this hairdo today is that I've been in the studio with headphones on. So, so one thing I'm doing is recording tracks for people. Which is kind of a great development that we can do this virtually. If somebody's recording a CD, they can send me their vocal and their guitar part. I can lay a violin down on top of that or a harmony vocal. That's exactly what I'm doing for a guy in Montana right now. So a little bit of studio work is
Hmm.
helping. Um, I and many of my musician friends are on unemployment now for the first time. This is different, you know. It's helping. It's filling the gaps. Jim Henry and I are giving one show a month
Right.
on YouTube, and that's been, because of the social distancing, it's really not proper to do it any more often than that because we don't live together. So
Right.
we have to
Right.
make sure that we're safe before I go into his space, and he's all disinfecting, and I get my own bathroom at his house and everything. It's like, um, but we're giving shows once a month. It was called the 6 feet apart series, but I think it might go. This next one, I think we're going to call Plan B because all the songs we're going to play start with B. So we did that last month and it went really well. So giving the shows is helping because those generate tips, and people have been extremely generous with us, and that has helped us keep, the roofs over our heads and food on the table. Probably at some point, Jim Henry has been encouraging me to start a Patreon, which is another way um,
Hmm.
for an artist to kind of build a community of support. Um, you pay $1, you pay $3 a month or something, and I churn out stuff that's just for you. Um, or that you see before anybody else sees. And I like this model because one thing I found during the pandemic is that I really like social media less and less. You just go on there. I call it the toilet that just doesn't flush. Like the shit just goes around and around and it never goes down. Like the same posts just keep recirculating, and there's so much anger there and people are so fixed in their positions. And yeah, there's kitty videos, and sometimes you'll see little interspecies joy happening, dogs laying down with a cheetah or something, there's little bits, there's beautiful things, some pictures, family things, but most of what I see is pretty hard stuff, traumatic stuff. And I don't want to really be in that space right now, I already am in a sensitive place working on the memoir, and I want to be in more of an art space. I want to be
Hmm.
in a creating space, and I want to just, you know, without being ignorant of the news, I want to keep the peace. I'm a person who's really, my skin is pretty thin, and all of that stuff really gets to me and messes with my health and everything. And I just can't,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
yeah, I can't afford it right now. I want to be happy. I want to, take my precautions with the pandemic, and then I want to, and I show up for the marches and I do my thing, but I just want to focus on my art. I don't want to get swept away. I don't like that feeling of being hooked by the news, of being hooked by the trauma, of being hooked by the same bits of information going around and around. I just can't do it. So creating a Patreon, I feel like that gives me a little bubble, it's
Right.
like, it's one thing to like have your own Facebook page, but even still, anybody can post on there. So I do think that creating a bubble of support would be a healthy thing for me. And, of course, it just tightens the relationship with your fans. Already so many of them I'm so tight with and who support me so well. But this is just another thing we can do to sort of make the best of this really strange year. So
With the all the tension, the issues that are going on in the world, I know with Black Lives Matter, with the political infighting that's going on and the craziness around that. I don't know about you, but I know I have taken a lot of notes for songs. I haven't written any, but I've taken a lot of notes for. Have you done the same thing? Do you have anything that's boiling around there too, the same way?
yeah, I'm jotting things down, but I'm trying to figure out what is my message in all this. I'm not
Mhm.
an outrage artist, so I'm probably not gonna be that person that writes the anthem, that that everybody's gonna sing in all the protests. But you know, I have to think about what do I want to speak to. What is
Mhm.
what's the how can I help is
Right.
really more of where I would be headed. And I do write things down. And actually, I find that some of the older things I've written really kind of apply now as well, with the times, almost as if I saw it coming. Like a lot of us probably did, all this craziness. But I'm not writing anything overtly political. It sounds like you are, Joe.
I'm not supposed to talk about it on Folk Project TV, but yes, I have permission because you brought it up.
I asked you.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes,
Flipped
I've
it.
been writing a few things that definitely have a strong message, and it's not so much outrage as just asking why. Why are we here? Why are we? And I think I sent you the lyric that I had written, "Oh My America,"
Oh yeah, yeah.
and you saw there was a lot in there that talked to the things that were actually said. And I wrote that before they started with the Black Lives Matter, and I spoke to that, and Native Americans and how we've treated them, and so yeah, I do that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Now, when it comes to being silly, I want to get in there with the best of them. So I want to ask you a silly question.
All right.
Do you sing in the shower? And what song do you sing?
I always sing in the shower. Always. And it used to be my practice that I would always start with the mountain because I'm a person who, well, back in the day, as I'm remembering from my journals, I used to insist on a shower before a show, no matter
Mhm.
what. Even if I'd already had one that day, I needed another one. So, um, and I would sing the mountain because by singing that, I would know what shape my voice was in. And I
Okay.
could tell if I had allergies or if it was going to be a good night or if I needed to eat something. I could just tell by how it was coming out. It was kind of my litmus test. But yeah, no, I sing the mountain, and and then aside from that, I make up melodies. I just like to make up melodies.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Cool. Sounds
yeah,
like fun.
I just
We'll have to put a microphone in your shower. We'll hang it.
yeah.
Uh, if the COVID-19 pandemic disappeared from the planet tomorrow, and everything went back to what I don't know if I should say normal because I don't think anything is normal anymore. And you could do anything you wanted to at all. What would be the first thing you'd do?
I'd go hug somebody.
You'd go what?
I'd go hug someone.
Hug. Ah.
I'd probably go hug all my neighbors because I live in the houses are real tight here, and I live in a duplex, and my landlord is next door, and we're all just very connected, us and the two houses on either side. And not only did they take really good care of me when I tore my ACL, one of them brought me home from the hospital, another one went grocery shopping a few times, but we've continued that during the pandemic, somebody's going to Big Y and they'll text and we'll all send in our list so that we don't all have to go. And it's been a really beautiful thing. And so probably the first thing I do is go around and hug all my neighbors and thank them.
It sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan. How is the wonderful Miss Kitty?
Oh my gosh, we had a rough week with Miss Kitty.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, she's 18 now, and on July 9th, we celebrated our 14th year together. I adopted her from the shelter when she was 4. But she's an old kitty, and she's got kidney and thyroid and high blood pressure issues, and she gets dehydrated now and then. And I guess about a week ago, she got up and she was walking really strange. Her back legs were kind of coming around the side, and I looked on the internet and it looked like she might have had a stroke. And so I took her into the vet, and they said, well, we don't know what it is. We want to keep her overnight. And I have not been without her overnight ever, except when I go on tour. Like she never goes on tour without me. So I was really quite bereft last week, that week when she was gone. And then the next day they said, we think she has anemia, and we think it might be the kind where her body's not really going to recover from it. So that was really shocking. But they gave me this supplement, and I started giving it to her, and she hates it, but she takes it along with everything else that she takes. And last night, for the first time in a year, she actually chased a toy across the bed. Like, I don't even know what to make of this. She hasn't even looked at a toy in the longest time, but she was tracking it. And then she pounced. And I had to call my mom. I had to text the neighbors. I'm like, you guys, Miss Kitty, she's come back to life. I don't know what, but, it was a sweet moment. I noticed she's a little low res again today, but, you look for these things. You don't realize, like, they age and little behaviors start to fall away, until really all they're doing is sleeping all day. And it happens so gradually. You don't really realize until something like that pops up again, and you're like, oh yeah, she used to play all the time. Oh,
Yeah.
that was nice to see.
I did an interview with my artist friend David Gulata a show or two ago, and they just lost their cat of 17 years.
Aww.
And so he'd been around for a long time, and he was a really good cat as far as wonderful personality and everything, but we know what it's like, and we certainly, our heart goes out to anybody who has an ailing animal, not just one that passes, but anytime it's family, their family.
It's rough, yeah. And I don't know what I would have done during this pandemic without her, because what a great distraction she is. I got to make sure I give her medicines twice a day. I got to go up and check on her a number of times a day, and she's just such good company. And then she's just tactile, she's somebody to hug and love on. And the pandemic, I think, has been hard for people like me who live alone. We don't have people to process with, in the day to day until you get on a Zoom call, which is so fatiguing, and so, so there's a lot of ways that Miss Kitty she doesn't know it, but she's just really been there for me. She's been a good companion. I feel really grateful.
On your, you mentioned it earlier, your next live show with Jim. What date was that going to be? It's
going to be July 21st.
21st. Okay, so that's actually going to be before this show airs. So the next one will be in August.
Yeah, we don't know if we're doing August because I'm going in for the ACL repair.
Okay.
And Jim Henry's going in to have his shoulder done.
Oh, dear.
We're going in the same, within 4 or 5 days of each other, because it's like, well, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. So we decided to just go in, and then hopefully by August, late August, we can give a show, but we don't really know how we're going to be. I can't remember how long it takes before I can drive again. So, because I'm going to be locked out in a brace for a while. So, so I'm not sure about August, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, we hope that both of you heal rather quickly. We would love to have more of that wonderful music. listen to the, what was it, the Bees? You guys were doing all the songs in the Bees?
Yeah, we're gonna do that again on the 21st. The B, Plan B is what I call it.
That was fun. That was fun. So you guys did some interesting selections. I uh, I was sitting there, couldn't believe it. My wife is sitting on, well, you saw her on the couch next to me before we started this interview, and during that point in time, I had turned around, kept saying, "Oh, they're doing this! Oh, they're doing that!" So I was excited about it. Um, we're probably going to wind this up in a few seconds, but I want to give you a chance to give a message to your fans and to the people that are listening to this interview. Do you have anything you'd like to say, anything you want to share with us, and let them know what you're thinking?
Oh gosh, well, you know,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
no, it's I don't feel on the spot. I'm just there's a lot to say, and then there's nothing to say. Like we're all kind of in the same weird boat together, making the best of it. And I'm just really grateful for the support of the community. When we do these little shows, this is all we have to offer in the moment, and that people show up and they watch them and they take something from them. If they donate, great, but and that helps us a lot. But even if they don't, just to connect with us in that way, just to be with us in the space for that moment and be a part of the music that we're making. Um, it's a special thing. And I'm a person who, I mean, my whole career, I've been relying on fans. I just keep falling into the arms of my fans and they keep catching me time and time and time again. It's pretty much how I started in 2002 after Dave died. I just threw myself out there and everybody caught me. So, what can I say but thank you? And here we are again, all of us falling, all of us catching each other, doing the best we can. But you really can't say thank you too often. So
No, and I understand that we can't tell you thank you too often because the joy of listening to you, you and Jim when you're playing together. I know you played with other artists as well over the years, and everything that I've heard, I've enjoyed. So thank you,
oh,
thank you,
thanks.
thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
You have a wonderful day. Thanks so much again for being here with me.
Sure.
We will try to set up something maybe down the road. If hopefully this doesn't last that long, but if it does and you want to come back as a guest, we'd love to have you.
Well, thank you so much.
And
This is
maybe we
fun.
could talk Jim into showing up.
Oh, he would show up. He'd be game. Yeah.
You have a wonderful day and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Take care.
Thanks. Our next song was released by Tracy in 2018 on her Low Tide album. It's the most requested song at her live concerts and one of my favorites. Tribute to her father, who died a few years ago. Let's listen to Good Life.
20 years old, just a fitful young man with a fire in my eye. Liked a drink in my hand, kissed a pretty young girl, got a gold wedding band and a baby on the way that we didn't quite plan at all. Headed out west and I ran a little hard, and the drink in my hand, well, it didn't cool me off. It was right about the time my kid was 16. I was scaring everybody, got so bitter and mean and old. I used to dream of a little rowing boat. It'd be me and the dog, and we'd fish and we'd float and we'd live in a one-level ranch with toads round the pond and doves in the branches. And oh, what a good life. Sick of my scheming and but you're leaving this fool and all. 'Cause I used to dream we'd be getting up at dawn, we'd have chickens in the pen and some goats on the lawn and big trees, worms in the pail and my heart on my sleeve. Yeah, my love wouldn't fail. In my good life, in my good life. Well, I'm 65 now and they tell me I'm sick. There's pain in my belly, it is the reckoning stick. So call her my daughter and we cry ourselves clear. It's forgiveness and grace, and I wish you were here, you know. Yeah. Last time we talked, I was coming undone about a sweet summer peach that tastes just like the sun, with the juice from that fruit dripping all down my face. There's only this moment, only this place, and the dream of a little rowing boat. It'd be me and the dog, and we'd fish and we'd float and we'd live in a one-level ranch with toads round the pond and ducks in the branches. And oh, yeah, what a good life, what a good life, what a good life. Let it all go now and wipe it all clean. Ain't no time for regret in the great in between. It was a hell of a ride, and I wish I had known. You can worry, you can wonder, but we're all just going home. I've had a good life. I've had a good life. Thank you.
Now Tracy's going to be going for surgery to repair damage to her ACL. So let's send her some prayers and good vibes for speedy and complete recovery. Incidentally, her musical partner, Jim Henry, is also undergoing a surgical procedure, so let's keep him in our thoughts as well. And that's it for today's show. I'm working to bring you more one-on-one interviews, so check back each week. I'll let you know the details as soon as I have them. I've been saying this for 11 weeks now. Please be careful if and when you venture out into the world. Wear a mask. Keep your distance from others, and wash your hands often. Do me a favor. Until next week, keep peace in your heart. We'll see you.